Welcome to the podcast, Badass Mother Hustler, where the grit, stress, and the beauty of motherhood and entrepreneurship meet. We'll share the realities and stories of what it takes to make it all work and still be a badass mother. Now here's your host, Maddie Yaka.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Badass Mother Hustler. I'm so happy to have you back. Today, we are chatting with badass mother, Lara Bokovay, and she is the mother to one beautiful daughter. Every entrepreneur mom has a story, and we can't wait to hear yours. So thanks for coming on today. How are you?
Thanks so much for having me. I'm good. I smell a little bit like camping, but you know, it's the season.
We had a fire in our backyard the other night, like 3 nights ago, because it finally cooled down. I'm in Pennsylvania and there was like no humidity finally. And I was like, oh, I love the smell of this. It reminds me of camping. Where'd you camp at?
Where I'm in Canada, so I'm just straight up north from you, but just about an hour outside of Ottawa. But it was fun. It was actually the first weekend that we've had all summer that we haven't had torrential downpours. So it was
wow,
awesome.
Right now it's really like hazy where we are because I guess there's wildfires up there and they came down the jet stream.
Yeah. So
does that happen every summer?
It didn't. Now it's a common occurrence, but you know, the weather's always changing globally. So it's all over the place.
It's wild. So why don't you tell everyone a little bit about what your childhood was like and does entrepreneurship run in your family?
So I've been an entrepreneur since I can remember. So there's the classic like lemonade stands and all that kind of stuff. And we lived we were like pretty close to like a river where I grew up, and there was like a beach and all that kind of stuff. And I think I was about like 5, and I took all the freezies out of my freezer and packed them in a little bag, and then went and got like my neighbor boyfriend next door to like walk me to the river, and I went and sold them for 25 cents. So I had my little Crayola scissors and just went and sold like freezies on the beach. So like there was always that like entrepreneur in me, and even from that, it was just like I got into the normal like soccer refereeing and like babysitting right away. At 11 and 10 and 12, I was making more money than most kids just from like everything that I was involved in. So there was always a drive to either be self-employed or build a business or, all of the above. So that started quite young.
You started so young doing that. So how did you end up in a corporate career?
I think so. Like where I'm located, we're almost like Washington, D.C. Like we're very like government, like we're 90% public sector. So like it's just ingrained in you to generally like be in the public sector or be all of the above. So I just like naturally, even though entrepreneurship was always something, you sort of get into as life takes you, and you go to school for one thing and then you get into something else and you're like, oh, I really love this. And then you like move to something else. Like, I think it like really evolved. Like I always had the vision of working for myself and being self-employed, but like, I didn't think it was like possible, like right away. Like I sort of had to get my feet wet in some type of corporate.
Did you feel pressure to just go to college and get like a job?
Oh, 100%. Like that, like, you know what I mean? Like that is the expectation. That is the norm. It was like, yeah, like go to college, university, get a degree, get the job, like all that kind of stuff. And you're sort of like methodically just like going through life. And then you realize you're like, right, okay, what timeline am I on? What trajectory am I on? And then this isn't
what I want. You're like, this doesn't fill my soul. You wake up and you're like, what am I doing?
Pretty much.
Yeah. So how long were you in that career for? And then what made you decide to just like be done with it and take the leap?
So I was there for 7 years, and in that time it was corporate, but I was in sales. So it was like corporate sales, and I was in 100% commission environment.
Yep.
That was my contract and stuff. And I was doing very, very, very well. And to the point that I was one of the only employees left on that compensation structure. And they couldn't retain anyone if they didn't change it. But at the same time, I was so much like, I wasn't even in the same brackets as everyone else. And so at the end of the day, the company wanted more of my pie and to equalize whatever. And so they wanted me to do the same position, but
They were going to give you a salary and it was going to be less.
a couple six figures, like less than what I was making, but to perform more. And at that point, I was just like, I really, like if anything, I need more enticement to do more, because you sort of get to a certain point and you're like, hey, well, this is really comfortable. And now you have the residual and the relationships and all that kind of stuff that you don't need to actively hustle as hard. And so, so I didn't want that change. I didn't agree to that change. And so
how the heck did they pitch to you? I want you to work harder, but you're going to get paid less. Like, how did they pitch that?
That's exactly how they pitched it. And I was just like, no. So the options were to either stay at the same and in a year's time change my term of employment, or change it right away. And I was like, no. Like, so I accepted that I would change it in a year's time, knowing that I had a year to figure out what's next, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Like, did you decide at that point, I'm going to start my own business? Or were you like, I have a year to think about this, and then that's going to be the jumping off point?
I had a year to figure out what I wanted to do next. And so I knew that I didn't think I was going to continue once it changed over. So I gave myself a year to save, to strategize, to explore what another type of career would look like, because I couldn't leave and do like a lateral move because of non-compete clauses and all that kind of stuff. So I had about a year to wrap my head around what that looked like. And then at that point, when I decided to make the jump after the compensation change, I really still didn't know what I wanted to do just yet. And I took off 3 months of like, not just to figure out like what I enjoy doing, what I want to create, what does that look like? Does that look like working for another employer? Does it look like doing my own business? Like what does it actually like look like? So I took the jump and then took the time off to figure out what that looked like. So there was a lot of factors in figuring out what that next timeline and space and all that kind of stuff looked like for me.
Did you just really embrace that time? Because it's sounding like you did, or were you kind of like freaking out? Like, what am I going to do?
I had a good little nest built. And so I had a good nest built, and the year leading up, so with the changes with work and all that kind of stuff, and I was trying to conceive at that time, I was having like miscarriage after miscarriage after miscarriage. And so like my health was like, over, my cortisol levels were through the roof, all that kind of stuff. And in my fertility journey, one of the things that my ex-husband suggested at the time before I left, he's like, we should get a puppy. And I said, yeah, like, let's, I wanted to be a mom. So fur mom, human mom, I'll take it. So the intention was that we were going to get a puppy. And I didn't think that we registered on different lists, and I didn't think I was going to get it. And, miracles happened. And somehow like 12 people didn't want the dog, and I got the dog way earlier. So I literally picked up my puppy May 5th, and then handed in my 2 weeks, and then spent the summer by the pool with margaritas and a puppy. So that was my, I had all like the good and dopamine and like, all that kind of stuff all summer long. And then literally just as I was about to launch my next career move, I got pregnant, and the pregnancy held. So, I think 3 months of lowering my cortisol levels and, having an animal.
Just chilling,
just chilling.
being with you and taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Helped.
Yeah, immensely. Like that was truly what I needed, what my body needed, all that kind of stuff.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So then you wrote that your business is you guide women, especially mothers, healers, and creatives, back to themselves through intuitive coaching, honest conversations, and soul-rooted strategy. So how did you come up with
Get into that? So I was doing executive recruiting, so executive headhunting. And one of the things that I really loved in that was helping individuals like transition in their career. So I was already working with professionals, but I was helping people navigate what they wanted and doing a lot more like soul reflection and all that kind of stuff. So when I started that coaching business, it was really career transition, career oriented, because that was the industry that I was just a part of. And then in my healing journey, I was going through different modalities for like healing spiritually, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And in that, really started to tap into my intuitive gifts. So when I was reading people, I was coaching them. And when I was coaching people, I was reading them. So then, as any business happens, like you think you're going into one business and then you pivot it again and change it again and all of the above. And so like through the progression, because that was in 2018 that I started coaching and reading. So over the last 7 years, I've then moved into more coaching mothers and women, because there was such a huge healing journey for myself in learning to reparent myself. And so like, even though I work with both men and women, coaching and reading, I have such a deep rooted, passion when speaking with mothers and speaking with entrepreneurs and speaking with other healers, because it's such a different, when you come from I was doing headhunting for military. So I was doing, our Department of National Defense, military, all that kind of stuff. And so when you're in such a masculine dominated environment, and then you start working in your feminine and not driving and, healing we all have feminine and masculine energy, but, sort of dropping back into like the creative side of me and like the community side and all the beautiful things that women hold. I just truly find, even from generational patterning, when helping coach somebody, it's easier for me because I'm an embodiment of what I guide and teach when I'm actually guiding and leading women, as opposed to men. I could see where they are in their own traumas and belief systems and all that kind of stuff. But, it's where I can take a woman is so much further in regards to all their belief patterns, like all that kind of stuff. So now through pivoting and continuing to say, okay, well, which conversations actually light you up? Like which clients, you really like love working with, love sharing with, love guiding through, like definitely like moms is a huge one, because there's our children are truly mirrors of our own patterns and our own insanities and our own, like, all that kind of stuff. And so it's such a beautiful experience to have the self-awareness to witness yourself through your children. And I think there's so much teaching that we and learning that we do as parents, to really, and also too, like, my daughter is such a catalyst for, like, my life. Like, you know what I mean? Like you could do it. Like, you know, when we say like girl power or whatever, it is, but it isn't. It's just like, no, like you could truly do, like, all the body dysmorphia that I had and all the confidence stuff. Like, I get to smash all of it. I get to neutralize all of it. I get to sort of like lead the way for her. So it's like, for her, everything's possible, you know, like in school, because she's in kindergarten, or now she's going into grade 1. But like, for her, there's no like, I want to be a vet, I want to do that. She's like, I want to teach and, you know, pull cards for people, and I want to just be a mom. And she has such a different idea of what's possible for what you do to exchange for monetary value to live. Like, it's just, I've completely,
it's amazing,
and rewired her mind so she doesn't think like school,
yep,
job,
yep,
life. You know what I
yep.
mean? She's like, you know, I could have 12 different streams of revenue. I mean, like, as an entrepreneur, it's not just one. You know what I mean? Like, there's healing modalities, there is supplementation, there's like so many different components to help you in your present, that I can sort of dabble into everything. It doesn't have to be one stream. So, you know, so she's now walking around with like, you know, infinite, you know, possibilities of what her life's going to look like. And that's like the coolest thing too, to like have someone who's like, so all the things that we do, nothing is going to be scary or abnormal for her, because I'm just doing it. Right.
Yeah.
And as parents, we're truly, all we need to do is lead our children, but we need to embody that mindset and vision and, you know, what we want. So we have to sort of walk the walk.
How old was she when you started your business?
Like in my womb.
Okay. Okay.
I literally started, when I started reading people. I remember the first fair that I did. I was 3 months pregnant, craving Egg McMuffins. Like, so I just like, you know, and then I kept on like doing shows, and my belly kept on growing, and it was like 2 of us reading. So like, it was just a little wild. And then did my last coaching client 2 days before, I think not even 2 days. I went to labor on Thursday. Last coaching client was Wednesday morning. So everyone knew that I was taking like a hiatus for 2 months, or, you know, I was around if they needed me, but, you know, I was going to be sleep deprived and, you know, all that.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. If you took some time off, or if you just went right on into it.
I did, but like, I also kept the door open depending, because I had no idea what the schedule was going to be like. Well, they sort of run the show. So like, you know, like at the beginning, I was taking on clients at nighttime. Like, she would be down, and then I'd take clients on for 2 hours, or between like her morning nap or afternoon nap, I could generally take a client, or like do like smaller readings. So I was able to then, and then like, you know, once my, you know, her father was home, my ex-husband was home at the time, then he could do a feeding while I had a client. So, you know, like we really like, I really juggled around like her nap times. And it's interesting because one thing that like when I talk about like pivoting my business, like one of the things is originally on my website, I allowed people to like book in my calendar. And then I kept on changing my calendar, and then eventually removing my calendar entirely. So because what was happening was then people were booking, and then I'd have to reschedule. Cause like, once again, like even if a nap time is generally around that hour, like it could be off 45 minutes. They could only go down for 15, like, you know, all of the above. So what was happening was it was becoming, I felt like I was rescheduling more and more, and that's really not aligned with the I don't even like the word professionalism because
I
think,
know. I was
you know
gonna
what I mean?
say it's like not
But it
professional. Yeah,
is
I
like,
get it.
you know,
Yeah, yeah.
it's still like, it's like, no, you know, and I know that the right people always understand,
Yeah.
but you know, it's one of those things I just don't want to have to
So
navigate.
so would you give like a window? Like when I was booking people to talk with on the phone for the podcast, I'm kind of the same way. I don't want to be tied down to anything. I go with the flow each morning with the kids. So that's why when I was emailing people, I'm like, what window of time works for you? Because at 9 a.m., we could either be really good in this house or everyone could be freaking out. And I don't want to make a phone call when everyone's freaking out. So that's why I was giving like a window.
And the beautiful thing is the other moms get it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, and once again, and not even get it, but it's just like when you surrender to the fact that you're a parent, like that's like, you know what I mean? Like that's the first priority is like the parent, right? Like and so that's a shift for a lot of people, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like when you can like wrap your head around, like, yeah, you can't control your kid's going to be your kid. If your kid comes in, then they come in, like, you know what I mean? Like that's the reality. And you know, like I have Zoom meetings and she'll like gravitate in.
My
Gravitate out.
kids love it. I'm like, hey, I'm on a meeting.
They're like,
You can go watch TV at this time. And
no.
then they'll just be like, and I'm like, okay,
Like
say
I can have
hello and
I
then
can have
go.
the snack trays.
Yeah,
I can
I
have
know.
the iPad ready. I could have everything sorted. And I know that she could keep herself busy for 45
Yeah.
minutes or 20 minutes, but no, the second she's like in. So, you know, it's just really, when I speak about like reframing my business and like realigning and repositioning all the kind of stuff, like removing my calendar from my website was so freeing. Like I was just like, right. So now if someone's interested, then I could also have more control, because also you never know what changes. So someone could book something 2 weeks and then in 2 weeks something changes. And so like, it's so much nicer if someone just wants to book, they just let me know. And then I can give them a day and time that I know 95% chance won't be disrupted or I won't have to like, you know, reschedule or anything like that. So it was very freeing to remove the calendar off my website.
Yeah, like I said, I get that. So what was it like working in your business after you were divorced? Because in the beginning, like your husband was or your ex-husband was
Yeah.
helping you, you know, with your daughter so you can meet people. So what was that transition like?
A lot more calculated. Like, you know what I mean? Like luckily I had some support that could help through different things. I only took on things that I knew that like he was available, you know, in that time. But also we separated and got divorced like mid-pandemic. So, you know, there was no daycares, there was no caregiving, like there was none of that. So, and so it was a choice to be a mother first and a business second. So I still maintain on the times that I could hustle, make money, take on clients, I did. And the rest, I stopped getting so frustrated because it was like, oh, I missed that show, or, you know, I didn't like, no, like it's all divinely orchestrated. Like it's all, you know what I mean? Like, no, like you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to be a mom this weekend first. And, you know, if this client really understands, they'll book next week and they don't care. So it's like, it was really, acceptance of there's no should, could, woulds. Like, you know, like when you have limited time and limited resources to help, you also have to hold yourself with grace and compassion as you navigate everything, because it's, you know, yes, if you had all the time in the world, your business would look really different. But my situation is my situation. My story is my story. My timeline is my timeline. And so there's no I removed those like performance goals. And one of the biggest rewiring for me in my own healing journey and my own business journey was to remove the old metrics of and old ideologies of performance, self-worth, self-value, success. Like I really had to rewire and reframe what all that really was, and how do you grow without needing to perform. Like how do you define success? How do you not beat yourself up if you don't have time? Like, I always say,
Well, you also don't need to put in 9 to 5 to be successful.
100%.
I have a real estate business with my sister. Am I doing real estate 9 to 5 Monday through Friday? No. Are we successful? Yes. Because and it's even, I have a bunch of sisters. My sisters that are in corporate, they're like, this is bullshit. I'm clocking in 9 to 5. I get that work done. Why am I still like, I'm just twiddling my thumbs?
Well, that's the thing. What you and I could probably do in an hour is what sometimes takes people 2 to 3 days or a 40-hour work week. So I also know when Lara's focused, and I can get her done. But it's, and so we're also very good at doing a lot in the limited time that we do have.
Oh, that's what I was talking with the lady yesterday. I'm like, we build our business in the cracks of the day as mothers. 15 minutes, how much can I get done?
Yeah. So, and it's funny because it's like, how quickly can you have a quick body shower? Like, everything that we do, we can do in like super warp speed. And it's just a matter of being able to. And yes, there's times that that you need, and it's really knowing who you are. I think, like, even in how you build a business, because like there's times as well too that like I know that this needs to be, I need to have more room for creative expression, or I can't just drop into it. Like there's some tasks in your day that you can't just drop right into.
15 minutes.
Like,
you need
you need
an
the
extended
time, you need
period.
the quiet, you need to not be touched or overstimulated, all those kinds of things, right? So, and so you just navigate and plan around doing that, but that sort of.
So tell me a little bit more about what it means to read someone.
So I use cards and I get channeled messages from people. So I pretty much use cards, not like tarot cards, but more like oracle cards. And I use them as more like a launching post for me. So instead of like in a typical coaching session, there's a lot of back and forth, like reflection and questions and whatever. When I use cards, I could jump right into the root of the problem. So it just helps me like fast track to get there. Like I can get there eventually, or I can get there in 2 seconds. So
every time someone meets with you for a session, do you start by like pulling their cards or whatever, so you get straight to the point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So it just like, I could just dive right in. So, I mean, sometimes I sort of see where they're at and then I'll pull a card and then it will like go and like, okay, right. Like this just either validates whatever messages I'm having in my head instead of us just like circling around different things. So they're really direct and fast. But same thing too with business. It's like, what's holding you back? Like as you're creating a business, where are your limiting beliefs? And then I could jump right into that limiting belief or like the root of it to help rewire to move forward.
I had asked you what message did you want to convey to our listeners, and you said you wanted to tell people that they don't have to choose between motherhood and entrepreneurship, but you do have to choose yourself. Do you want to go into that a little bit?
For sure. So like, I think, a lot of times people try to compartmentalize their life. And like I said, when we get lost in the performance of what we think a professional business would look like and what the real rawness of being a mother is, like there's so much women and mothers are so resilient and so quick to adapt. This weekend, going back to camping, there was millipedes and centipedes and cups and everyone's around and whatever. And then, I was just like, well, what does the spiritual meaning of like centipedes mean? And it meant like adaptability and transformation and all that kind of stuff, which I thought was hilarious. Because I was like, that is truly like you just have to be so adaptable and moving forward. And you are a mom. Like if you decided to, bring a child into this world, then your responsibility as a parent is to parent first. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yes, you still need the financial means and the business and your creative expression and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, you can't get lost in any of it. You can only lead a child to be a great child if you have your shit together. If you can't regulate your nervous system, your kid can't regulate your nervous system. If you can't be vulnerable and express what you're actually feeling and what's going on for you, then your child's not going to be able to. If you can't do that in regards to your business will never be in alignment and you'll always feel like you're failing. So it's like, you have to choose what aligns with you first, and then everything else just organically comes into play. Taking off the calendar and giving yourself freedom. That's why you went into entrepreneurship, to give yourself time freedom. Like I really went into it. Yes, also because I've always had that spirit, but I also wanted to be present for my daughter. I wanted to be able to volunteer at her school, to pick her up before and after school. Like I wanted that time freedom. And that's once again choosing me, because that's what I wanted, not just for her, but that's the vision and life that I hold for myself. And you need to continue to circle back to your own vision that you hold for yourself, with you still being, do you want peace? Do you want alignment? Do you want joy? Do you want, freedom? Like, what is it that you want? And it's choosing you in those moments every single time, because once again, your children are a reflection of who you are. And so if there's something going on, you have to look internally to know how you're showing up. If your business is really struggling, then you have to say, well, what's out of alignment? Is it my message? Yeah. Am I being inauthentic? Like, what is going on there? But it's, once again, your business is a reflection of yourself. If nothing is connecting, then as little people enter the room.
You have to go potty? Yeah. Go potty. Go. I'll meet you in there. Go ahead. He doesn't want to go to the bathroom with the babysitter.
Story. And this is it. And this is beautiful. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, you're on white duty. Go for it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the beautiful thing. It's just like, but they're the ones that come first. And everyone else that listens, it's like, oh my gosh. Like, like I get screams like, Mom, ready. Time to wipe. And I'm like,
this is what he's like now. He's like, I'm done. And he'll be screaming, I'm done. And then I'm take care of the other kids, finally get over there. And he's like, I'm not done. I'm like, you've been screaming you're done for a minute. I'm like, can you make sure you're done before I come help you?
Oh, amazing.
So you had mentioned, stuff about nervous system. And a question I have for you is, what's your take on how our nervous system impacts us as mothers and business owners?
I think truly, if we can't regulate our nervous system, then we can't function at all. So it's like, our coping mechanisms for how we take a pause, take a breather, knowing that you need 2 minutes or 5 minutes and put on a timer saying like, mommy's like touched out or mommy's overstimulated, instead of projecting onto our children, which we do so often. It's trying to reel it back in and having the level of self-awareness that you contain it for a second to then be able to navigate it without projecting. I think that's the biggest thing.
I'm seeing a lot on Instagram that brought up, like, don't project things on your kids and try to work on it and things like that. I feel like that's been a big message over the past year and a half that I've seen.
Well, I think there's a bigger level of self-awareness of, you know what I mean? Like, you know, your child isn't a bad child. Your child doesn't know how to regulate their nervous system yet, or their child is, you know, once again, if your child, it's like, why does your child break down or cry or whatever? And it's like, the truth is that they're asking for some sort of communication. So figure out what that is to be able to move forward. So, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people don't look over the surface of what actually is happening. It's just like, okay, right. If this is the reaction all the time, what really is, why do they feel that they need to react that way? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I think more people have done healing work over the last 4 or 5 years, and there's a broader, expanded, or more people who have that expanded version of self-awareness. That
Maybe COVID and people just being trapped in their house really made them deep dive into their souls and have to think about themselves, and that's why they are choosing to heal. But I also feel like this generation of people is like more into it than our parents' generation.
100%, right? But it's just like we get to choose that, like, yeah, like when we say that we have to heal our inner child, like we all have an inner child, but like your children are your inner child. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so like you get triggered, or you could see their emotions if you've experienced it. You're like, why does this hurt so much? Or why do they feel neglected? Or why do they feel not chosen or abandoned, or whatever the case is? So like it really, they're like a direct mirror. And because the trend has been for us to heal our inner child, we are starting to see that in our children. So it's like, yeah, we first started doing the introspection and healing your inner child and nurturing your inner child. And then that's, you know, that leads to reparenting yourself. And then when you can reparent yourself, then you're parenting your kids differently. But then the next stage of then that is, right, if you've healed your inner child and you've done the introspection, but your children are still reactive or not functioning as you would hope that they would, there's still something that's going on for you that hasn't been dealt with yet.
Yeah. All right. One question before we get into our rapid fire 5 and 5. Balancing motherhood and being an entrepreneur is not always smooth sailing. What has been stressful about managing both roles for you?
Feeling like I'm not giving my business enough time. Like that's been the biggest struggle. And when I say business enough time, I also know that this is my season of life. It's your season of life to be wiping. It's my season of life to be wiping. Like it is truly the season. And so it's reminding myself that this is truly the season that I'm in, and to give myself grace and compassion and not beat myself up, because it's not that I don't have the time. My priorities are on my daughter first. And, you know, I need to be confident in that's the reason why, as opposed to spiral down all the other narratives that.
Yeah, like season, I'm thinking like the earth is rotating and right now it's all about your daughter, and then, you know, she's going to grow up and it's back to your business or whatever else that you
And
want
that's
to put it on.
exactly. So like, you know, the second she started school, then there was more time. Then I could have a breath, like, you know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. So like, it's accepting that this is the season that you're in, as opposed to fighting it tooth and nail.
Yep.
It's like, you know, like surrender. It's like, no, this is it. Like, you know, if I have to get interrupted, then it is perfect. Right. Like that is
the
what
third
it's all
child
about.
came for me and I was like, that's it. We're just going with it. We're rolling with it. I'm not trying to stick to any rigid schedule, because then you just get freaked out and in a bad mood, or I do. So I just go with it.
I get it.
All right. Rapid fire 5 and 5. What do you do to recharge and how do you find time for yourself?
Honestly, the same thing that I tell new moms, like the power of a warm shower. Like honestly, like, you know, if you don't need to wash your hair, but like showering is huge. You know what I mean? Like, and so to recharge, showering, music, you know what I mean? Like cook yourself food that you want to eat, not necessarily what your kids are going to eat. Like, you know what I mean? Like just you're allowed to recharge, but a warm shower is huge. And then also making sure that you have time to creatively do something, like whatever that is.
Yep. And what are you currently reading or listening to?
Right now I'm listening to a lot of podcasts, but definitely I guess even for books, like different things, like I'm always expanding. So like one of the things, like anything frequency specific at the moment. So The Resonance Effect by Dr. Carolyn McMakin. Like I love anything that expands what our bodies are capable of. So yeah, any type of modality to throw into the mix.
From a business owner perspective, who's your role model?
Honestly, I haven't found anyone yet who actually embodies alignment over the masculine energy business, corporate hustle ladder of stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, and that's hard. Like even in any of my business streams that I do, whether it's frequency devices or coaching or whatever the case is, like I truly am creating and leading the way in the sense of, like I there's no one that I have seen embody both of it, or, embody not the driving perspective. Like
you're going to be someone else's business role model because you're the trailblazer. What's the song you blast the shit out of if entrepreneur mom life is too much for you that day?
Right now it's Help Me Lose My Mind is my song.
Who's that by?
I don't know. Hold on. That was what my daughter and I were blasting this weekend.
I'll have to look it up. What is some advice you can give a struggling entrepreneur mom who might be ready to call it quits?
Everything that you get done in the day is exactly what you were supposed to get done.
I love
and if
that.
you didn't get it done that day, there's always tomorrow. There's nothing when you're building from alignment and you're building from self-care and loving on yourself and all that kind of stuff. If you don't get anything done that day, then that day was supposed to be a day of rest. If the next day you only get 2 emails out, then you were only supposed to get 2 emails out. And there's no, like, you are truly walking your divine path, the curriculum that the divine has put out for you. You're not behind, you're like right on time. So like everything that you do get done or not get done is perfect, and don't beat yourself up over it.
I love that piece of advice. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really, truly loved speaking with you, and I could speak to you longer, but I need to go wipe a butt. So
you're on duty.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
If listeners wanted to reach out, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Through my website. So www.larabokovay.com, or you can just Google my name.
And I'll put that in the notes and all that. And everyone, as always, I leave you with a quote. The difference between the possible and the impossible lies in a person's determination. Thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
Thank you for joining this episode of Badass Mother Hustler. If you loved this episode as much as we did, and it left you feeling inspired and empowered, give us a quick like and subscribe, and we'll invite you back to our next episode. And be sure to share us on your socials and visit our Instagram, Badass Mother Hustler Podcast. We'll see you next time.